So hello everyone, thank you for welcoming me as a panelist. So please to the next slide, please. So my name is Ellen and I live in the Netherlands. And I'm just giving a short introduction to who I am. I have been diagnosed with a very rare disease. It's called a difficult name, so it's probably easier just to read about it, but I'm just going to give a short introduction to what the disease means. It includes renal development disorders, most commonly with renal cysts. Most common problem outside the kidneys are diabetes. And other clinical features may include like hyperuricemia, gout, hypomagnesemia, abnormal liver function tests, pancreatic exocrine deficiencies, and genital tract malformations. I'm a patient representative for the Dutch Kidney Patient Federation, and I'm also reviewing text for Nieren.nl, which is a big, huge platform in the Netherlands with all the information about all the different kidney diseases, all the information about work, school, and everything what is related to. And I'm a parent of 2 chronic ill children. So if we could move on to the next slide, please. C4C is piloting its network with a small selection of studies, but will scale up whenever the successor organization is established. And one of the services that C4C offers to its partners in its network is the expert advice input on study or protocol design and/or pediatric development programs. So patients, parents, and carers are considered experts, and they are involved in advisory activities. Then the next slide, please. So how have I been involved in C4C? Well, I have participated as a patient expert to provide my feedback to include the patient's perspective in a future pediatric clinical trial. Topics in which other parents and I have given input are, for example, the acceptability of a potential study design, the patient journey through a clinical trial protocol, which includes opinion and insights on a hypothetical study, like the schedule of visits, treatment plan, as well on the device being used in any study, and other different types of the hypothetical study. Well, to do so, I have participated in different activities, like there were individual interviews, but we also had focus group meetings with other parents like me, like all parents with a chronic ill disease child. So we can move to the next slide, please. So why I decided to collaborate with C4C? I think it's important to contribute in the development of clinical trials for the future. The input and insights of today's medical treatments, as well communication. So how is it this day going, and how can we look to the future of it? The involvement in the development of processes and protocols. But also for me, it was learning about the setup of processes and protocol. In the daily way, you see how they function and how they work, but what is the setup about it? So it was very interesting to see and learn about the setup of it. And well, the most important thing I think it is, in order to be able to compare different protocols and processes, it is necessary to collect data from the sufficiently large patient group. The more people are getting involved and to compare, well, you get the more information, which will be good for the future. So that's the most important reasons why I decided to collaborate with C4C. So we can go to the next slide, please. Well, there were also challenges of joining C4C. Well, as I mentioned before, I'm from the Netherlands and I'm a patient as well as a parent and a carer. So when you're trying to express your feelings in general, and also in another language, how do you cope with that? Because everybody is sure it's most easier for you to speak your challenges and express your feelings in your own language. So how are you going to find the right words, the right sentences, the right feeling that you want to share of joining in a clinical trial? So you have to explain the processes and procedures, which are normal, but also extraordinary. If you ask other parents of children who don't have chronic illness, it's very rare to compare, because what's very normal to me, other parents, they will say, whoa, that's very extraordinary what you do. And so what is the balance between what is normal, what is extraordinary, which processes and procedures or protocols of treatments you do? So sometimes it was a challenge to find also there the right sentence to it and the right expression. Also sharing the important medical terms. Sometimes you call it in the Dutch language, the English language. Some of them are in a different language. So find and share the important medical terms. And also, but that's in general, not specifically for a clinical trial or for a process, but it's a challenge when you have a rare disease and the complicated cases of it. Well, as I mentioned before, I have 2 children, and they're both are individuals, have their own character, have their own way of having treatments. So sometimes it was a challenge because you take both of their ways to take into the account. But what I'm really positive about is how I think my contribution will help, sharing my expertise as a patient, as a parent. And by participating, you are helping to advance protocols, processes, or medicines, which is in the public interest of society. The results of the study may help patients with a similar condition in the future. And even as a patient, you can sometimes benefit from a new protocol or treatment yourself, but that's not always the case. Next slide, please. So how can people collaborate with C4C? The C4C has set up a database of young patients and their families, patient organizations that want to collaborate in these activities. Interested people can submit their contact details and their expression of interest to join the C4C pool of patient experts. If their help is needed, C4C will provide the information about the activity, the goal, time to commit, etc., to the selected candidates, and will facilitate their participation in the C4C patients' involvement activities. So join now. Next slide, please. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for welcoming me as a panelist. The last slide was all the information to connect with Connect for Children for C4C. All the slides will be published as well, so all the information is available for all the social media, the internet. So if you would like to have any information, please check our last slide, and you can connect with C4C. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen.